This is cool. No worries. No, you can kick back, let your hair down as I'm letting. I don't even know what I look like on camera, but I'm rolling with it. Anyways, all right. Welcome to another amazing episode on the Heart on Fire podcast. I am so grateful to have these lovely individuals here today. They're none other than Demetrius and Chameleon Likes. They're a beautiful couple I got to meet and through friends, and I'm so excited to unravel your guys' story today. Apart from that, they have ventured into various avenues, whether it be modeling or being on commercials, you name it. They're a dynamic duo, and I hope you stay tuned. And here we are. All right. So, how are you all today? Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
That was quite an introduction.
Yeah, no worries.
We're definitely excited to be here today, so thank you for inviting us here.
It's my pleasure. Honestly, like, having met you through friends and, you know, like, having a good community is a beautiful thing, and I'm grateful for, you know, shout out to our friends Shantae and Mike and Jose and Zach. Sorry for anybody else I missed out, Devin. Anyways, but like shout out to the crew for like bringing us together. Your guys' journey. I'm not completely familiar with all the work that you do, but I know you guys definitely keep busy. Can you tell me a little bit more about your work and how you came to be? Okay. that seems like a loaded question. Okay, maybe we could start individually about like your guys' work as individuals.
Modeling and acting. I started acting actually in college. It was a theater play in my second year in college, and then that passion started to grow, and then basketball started to decrease because the goal was to be a basketball player. But acting has been like a passion of mine since college, and when I still in college in 2015, I just went to the acting role, and I started off with background and started to grow a little bit from there, and it's been pretty good. And then modeling, my cousin Joy suggested I model, and I started off in 2016 in a pageant, got out of it because it wasn't my passion. Then I did photo shoots with my friends who were actually professional photographers, and then I got back into it in 2018, and my birthday in 2018 was actually like my first, introduction to modeling. It was in a fashion show, and I loved it. It was fun. So I've been doing modeling since 2018 professionally. So it's been fun.
I love that. Clearly you were like, oh, when I did modeling, and like that's where you felt the excitement. What was it about those moments that gravitate you to want to do more?
Man, when I first did modeling, I didn't like it, but
should be told.
Yeah, but when I got back into it, started doing like photo shoots. I think I like photo shoots more than pageant because we were doing like a lot of training and runway and practicing. And I was like, I don't know if I like that. We wasn't really doing any competition at the time, but the photo shoots was great because it shows your creativity, and you can show emotion through your creativity in a photo. And that's what got me back into modeling. And then the fashion show came around like my birthday 2018, but before that, my friend Marcus Brown, who's also a professional photographer, he had his own entertainment line, and we did a photo shoot, and that was fun. So it was like gradually I started to like it, and then once I got reintroduced back into modeling, that's why I loved the fashion show, because it's like, of course, the spotlight is on you, but the creativity, like to walk, show emotion, the poses, it's just fun. It's it's like almost like theater in a way, because it's like a one shot done type of thing,
right?
And then the crowd and the audience like snapping pictures, and you hear the emotions and reactions. That's pretty cool. So
I love that.
I liked it. It's like my own version of theater, but without the acting.
That's so good.
So, funny story for me.
Let's go.
So I grew up in the era where America's Next Top Model was super hot, and everyone was watching it. And I remember being a little girl. You do the math.
Yeah, there you go.
A little girl watching America's Next Top Model, and I just always been a storyteller. as a kid, I'll always write my own stories. And so when I saw how they mixed fashion with modeling, with storytelling, with all of these different challenges, I think that's what first sparked my interest in modeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't until I got older that I was old enough to finally apply. But by that time, I think Tyra Banks had already like moved on and all that.
Yeah.
But when I applied, found out that there was a height requirement. And so I was like, I just felt like my dreams were crushed right there in the instance. Like, thanks, you know. I was like, I'm finally older and I'm able to do it now. I'm too short. So I went more into like the designer path because I also was interested in fashion design. And then I ended up being a teacher for at-risk students who, you know, need a little bit more help and encouragement, you know, based on their environment. And so I was at a teachers conference for, you know, everybody in the education field. And I was dressed up like how I normally do because I'm into fashion. And this woman comes up to me and she asks, "Are you a model?" And I say, "No, but I want to be."
Right.
And then she gave me her information, gave me the address to a casting call that was coming up. I went, I got it, and it took off from there. So all of a sudden, I'm in New York, I'm in London, I'm in Paris, I'm in Alaska, I'm in Dubai. I'm like all over the place, just that fast. And it's like, who would have known that I would have got scouted for modeling, doing something totally different in the teaching field. So that's crazy.
That is, and you said it yourself, you know, like at least when you were pursuing something that you're interested, you never know what door's gonna open.
Exactly.
So I'm so grateful that you got to like explore that. Apart from, you know, your modeling and being on set, you know, tell me a little bit about how you guys came together and got to know how your guys' you know, passions seem to kind of align.
So another funny story.
Yes. We're dropping funny stories today.
I actually was around the time of where I felt like I wanted to go into a different path away from modeling, and I wanted to get more into like the creative directing side of it. And so I wasn't really going to fashion shows, but there was this fashion show coming up for BET, and I was like teeter-tottering of whether I should go or not because I'm like trying to go in a different direction, and something just kept telling me to go. So I went, and I ended up meeting him like officially because we modeled in fashion shows prior, but we never really talked because he says I have RBF, so I look so unapproachable and so I was like, that's when we officially met because we both found out we were vegan. And so it's crazy, like I almost didn't go and I wouldn't have met him and met my husband. So like it's crazy like how God is always behind the scenes, like that urge to like go to different things. And even with the teachers event, I almost didn't go to that. So it's just crazy. Like, just show up. That's literally the message. Just show up. You never know what God has for you in store. So, and then He has the more juicy details.
Oh yeah,
of the time frame.
Let's hear your perspective.
Well, it's definitely that. It was like I didn't want to go either, but at the time, my roommate Andre was the one pushing me to go. And my mother pushed me to go, and Vishal, who's a friend of mine who was staying with us at that time, he was pushing me to go. So I had 3 people pushing me to go when I didn't even want to go. So I went to the casting call. I was like, I didn't like it. I got in, but I was like, I don't know. And so I went, and then how we met was actually through my friend Jamal. I think Jamal knew her, of course, my wife. So like I guess she was doing her hair at one point, and I was going to eat food with a friend of mine. And, you know, he pointed, it's like, oh, ask her if she wants food. And she didn't want food because I asked her. So I left, me and my friend got vegan food. We came back, she was still there. And we sat next to her. But Jamal, like, was the icebreaker. So he said out loud, so you guys are still vegan, huh? And he just, like, it was an icebreaker. And then we were talking about it for a while. Then out of nowhere, she was like, oh, you're vegan? And then, you know, and my friend was like, yeah, we're vegan. And I'm like, yeah, I'm vegan. Like, oh, you're vegan too? And then my friend took her away, but that was the icebreaker was Jamal. So I think he knew what he was doing. And then, you know, after I found her on Instagram, talked
He
to her.
stopped me. He hunted me down afterwards.
Yes.
I looked for her, but in the
There you
search
go.
bar, I didn't know her IG at all. So her video was actually in the search bar.
Oh.
So she was already there. I didn't even have to look.
God.
Right.
So yeah, I didn't have to look.
The
So
algorithm
Yeah.
got it right. He knew what was going down.
so yeah, I talked to her. We talked for a week. We just were upfront with everything what we wanted in our future, and then our first date was July 4th. So the fashion show was June 26th. First date was July 4th. Griffith Park. It was a long 8-9 hour hike because she wanted to go to the Hollywood sign. We kind of got lost, but it worked for the best.
Okay.
After like in the end, the night we got official. We made ourselves official, boyfriend and girlfriend.
Aw.
We had a second date, I think 2 days later. That was like bowling and arcades, so that was fun. And then yeah, July 8th, I just asked her, hey, do you want to get married?
4 days.
4 days later.
After our first date.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it took 2 dates, and then I kind of knew like when we were talking, like this was I wanted her to be my wife, because we talked about God in our relationship, and that was a first. So it was like
Okay.
that was very important because I was definitely going a different path spiritually during that time. Like I was just like letting my old life go to like follow God personally. So that was a good sign. And then like once she said that, I was like, okay, this is it. And then yeah, 4 days later after we became official, she said yes. July 8th. So we were engaged, and then we did engagement again in August. So I planned it with a couple of friends, including Jamal, who was hosting.
Double confirmation.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, who was hosting our friends, her friends' birthday party. Then yeah, just got that one. He got the ring that she wanted, and yeah, another engagement proposal, and she said yes in front of everybody. So that was pretty cool. And then November 4th.
That's more than pretty cool.
Yeah, it was dope. The
let's
setting
not-
was great. The setting was great.
Fair enough.
So I planned that for a month too, so I didn't tell her anything.
You definitely had things up your sleeve. I know
Yeah.
it's kind of unraveling, not to cut you off, but that like everything is like, oh yeah, this came out just so naturally, but there was some planning involved.
Yeah, it was a lot of thinking. And then November 4th, so July 4th was, where we got together. 4 months after that, we got married.
On November 4th.
November 4th.
So it's like a lot of fours.
A lot of fours.
So July 4th, first date. 4 days later, proposal. 4 months later, on November 4th, we officially got married.
That is immense. Like I love just hearing, your guys' perspective and like how it all came together. So obviously there was a lot happening so quickly. I mean, just on a whim, like 4 days into it, like where was your mind at? Like how on a female perspective, just to kind of, because I'm pretty sure just hearing that, like what did that make you feel? Because you obviously were intentional about what you were pursuing, but
So this was actually around the time where I wanted to be more intentional with who I dated, because I was reaching that point in my life where I knew marriage was my end goal for all dating, not just recreationally dating, trying to figure it out. No, I already know that I want to get married one day. And so when I saw that he was also intentional, because sometimes you meet guys and they're like still trying to figure it out, they're not serious, especially here in LA where a lot of people are like career focused, not necessarily wanting to settle down, and get married. So in my head I was like, oh, is this too good to be true?
Right.
I was like, God, is this good? Like, is this just a fantasy? Like, am I dreaming?
right.
And so more and more time went on, and we got to know each other, and I saw that it was legit. Like, I never felt so sure and certain about anything in my life. And I'm actually a new Christian. I didn't become Christian until the beginning of 2023. So before that, I was like more agnostic. So the fact that I was certain about something for like ever in my life.
Yes.
It's like crazy because, you know, being agnostic is all about being uncertain and just winging things. So
Totally.
the fact that I was certain, I knew like that was like have to be confirmation.
Yes.
And so, yeah, like as more and more time went on, and it was funny because I told my family, oh, by the way, I'm engaged. Like,
just throw that in there.
And so it was just hilarious, like how everyone was just so surprised, and because they know like I'm not that type of person. Like I'm like a free flowing type of person. They thought I wouldn't even get married. I thought I was gonna be the rich auntie forever. Like
yeah, no trust. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, that's how it happened, and we're here almost 3 years later in our marriage. So.
Yeah, that's immense. Like, I mean, all of that wrapped into one. It just goes to show that when you posture, you know, yourself to seek it, whatever it is that one would find, it just seems to be that things happen in alignment for you both, and so that's so great. That's so great to hear. Okay, so now that you're married and we're almost 3 years farther, how would you say your relationship has grown, to say the least? I mean, feel free to start.
I would say it has grown and has taught me to be committed in what it's like to be faithful, not only to him, but also to my accountability to God. So the fact that we have an accountability partner and I'm not just like lone wolf doing it on my own, I really had to learn that, you know, I'm not just living my own life anymore. Now I'm living it to God and to my husband. So it was like a lot to learn all at once. But the fact that I didn't have to figure it out alone, I have God, I have my husband just to keep me accountable. And we do so many things together. We pray together, we read the Bible together, we, you know, study it together, we go fellowships with other Christians together. And so that was one of the biggest things that I learned, because prior, you know, I was very lone wolf type of mindset. I guess they call it Sigma or whatever. Like I was very much like, I don't really follow a pack, like just follow the beat of my own drum type of thing. And so yeah, like it's so much, you go far when you do it together instead of trying to figure it out on your own.
I know, I received that.
Yeah.
I know you shared earlier, tell me a little bit about how you came, you know, to your faith, if anything, and apart from that, how your growth being in this relationship.
I grew up in church. So, yeah, we were always going to church, and Sunday I grew up. But I think my adult life, it was shifting, because I was like more out there in the world, in college, of course, the parties and stuff. But I was still going to church. I was still like here and there reading my Bible, but I wasn't like more consistent until like my late 20s, early 30s. So it's like I pretty much rededicate my faith to God and Jesus around that time. But I would go to church, but it was more of like a lukewarm Christian. Like you go to church, then you're in the world, and then church. Yeah, that makes no sense. So it was like very wishy-washy for me.
Okay.
But in my 30s, it's when it all shifted. So I just, you know, started making decisions to like be putting my faith first. And I think that's where everything shifted. At 32, before I met my wife, like I was making decisions to like cut things out of my life slowly but surely. Partying, I used to party and drink a lot in college. I cut that out. I cut a lot of just stuff out that I didn't need in my life. I changed my music. So like the cussing stuff, I took that out, like in our marriage. I replaced that with more like Christian-based music and genres, which helps. And it was just like little things I was doing here and there. And then it amounted to like us being together. And because that was only God. I that's all I can say about that. And now, like, so we're married. It's been 2 years, 5 months, I think 24 days.
24 days.
Yeah.
He knows the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all are taking notes, but like when a guy knows a little bit more so than not saying you don't know, but I was like, that's something. But yeah, continue.
Yeah. Oh man, but It's just a lot of growing. Iron sharpens iron. So that's really how it's been in our marriage. I had to learn to work with my wife, and not because I've also had a lonely like do-it-yourself independent mindset as well, and like I'm more of a social type of person, always in the group, but I'm like learning to just me and my wife. So it's like trying to cut that down and then like not also live for myself or for my wife.
Amen. Yeah.
Because when you're single, it's just me. So for me, I had to let go a lot of like me mentalities,
Right.
and put more of a us, we
Yes.
in the mentality, and that's where it's changed. And we've seen how it is when we try to do it our way, but when we do it God's way, it's the complete opposite. It's been great in our marriage. There are things here that we also talk about. If there's like a little problem, we'll talk about it, hash it out. But yeah, marriage has been great since that. When we're doing it God's way, it's like it's been peaceful.
Right.
No fighting, arguing. I don't get like the society's stigma of marriage being a prison. That's the biggest lie I've ever heard. But
Yeah.
and I noticed like society also like degrades black marriages as well. I've
Yes.
seen in the movies, Tyler Perry movies and stuff, whatever. But
Our community actually has the lowest percentage of marriages.
Wow.
yeah,
So like so many other people of our community really look up to what we have as if it's like, foreign,
Right.
because it's not something you see every day. Usually, it's the baby daddy, the baby mama, one parent household. And so, and then like putting God first, both of us, and not just the woman. So it's really crazy like how much we get to impact our community at the same time. Like we're not only are we impacting each other or our faith, but also like our entire community. And
Yes.
it's crazy because me being new to faith and new to marriage at the same time, I also got to see that symbolic reflection of how Christ loves the church based off of how he loves me, like as his wife.
Right.
And so it's crazy that I got to experience that in real time of what that's like, and not just read it but experience it. So
And that's the thing, being human, we get to experience a lot of things, but obviously having your former, kind of allow you to understand what your current situation got to unravel for you. It's like you did go through whatever challenges and obstacles, obviously, to get here. And to even get here, what would you say is like one of your biggest obstacle, independent of each other, that you think you had to overcome in order to allow yourself to be in a relationship like this?
I guess for me, it would be getting grounded on what I want. Because like I said, I was agnostic prior. And so I was pretty much just all over the place. And that took a lot of trust, because I have to trust what I believe in order to move forward. Or else I'm just going to forever be wishy-washy. And so one of the biggest things is I had to figure out who I am, what I want, where am I trying to go. That way I'm not wasting my time, I'm not wasting anybody else's time. And so the biggest thing I had to overcome was just my own uncertainty, my own doubts. And I even had doubts of my life. Like I was constantly suicidal because that affected everything. When you're uncertain, it even goes that deep of, okay, if I don't even know why I'm here, I don't even know who I am, what's the point of being here in the first place? So as a child growing up, I always would try to kill myself because I don't know why I'm here. And every time I make up some meaning of why I'm here, that expires, and now I'm back at square one because I have no root. I'm not grounded in anything. And so it was always easy for me to fall. And so now that I'm grounded in something stable like God, I'm able to have a purpose that's eternal and that's not always changing,
Yeah.
And so that was like the biggest thing that I had to overcome in myself in order to have something like marriage, where it's like a lifelong commitment. It's not something that should be treated lightly and normalized like divorce is. in society. It's like, oh, let's just get married and see how it goes. But no, this is supposed to be treated like a covenant.
Right.
Like you're here for life. And so I think that was definitely the biggest thing that helped me really treat marriage as something sacred.
I love that share. Thank you so much for being vulnerable, and it's very much a hats off to you to realize the depth of where you had to grow in order to be where you are and the amazing woman you are today, obviously. Demetrius?
For me, for me, letting go of my past, not letting it define me. I was so wrapped up in what was. I wasn't focusing on what it is. I've been abused. I've been bullied. I was suicidal from my childhood all the way to 18. And I thank God that I had a mentor and friends who cared when I was 18, because without them, I probably wouldn't be here. But yeah, I just had so much like unforgiveness and stuff in my past that was like hindering me to move forward at some times. So I had to like have a heart of forgiveness for that, and to work on letting go and moving forward. So that was like one thing I had to work on. And then pride. I was an athlete, so being an athlete, like being big-headed, like my favorite players was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. So it's like I learned a lot from them in that regard on the court. But yeah, pride was like always my biggest struggle. I had pride deep inside me. So it would come out in terms of like trying to fix, like you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you need to do this, you need to do that. That's where my pride would come out of. And I had to work on that a lot. Even in the beginning of our marriage, we talked about that a lot. So like that was something I needed to work on. So letting go of pride, and just making about we and us versus an I, because that's also pride. I, you. That stuff is.
What do you need?
Yeah,
can I get?
So it was a lot of that early, like especially our engagement, like our first 4 months, like we were really able to, see, a life like doing it our way, and then like after we got married, slowly but surely, God's way, we knew that God's way worked, but it's like it took a while, especially for me to just get out of that mindset, and that's like where I've seen I've grown a lot. And she's spiritual. She's very spiritual as well, Bible wise. I always see her like reading and stuff. So it's like that was like good motivation and admiration. And like I started to grow as well. I said iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
So I started to grow as well, but my growth was more in spirituality, discernment, praying, and then just reading the Bible every day. And that's what I've been doing each morning too. It's like when I wake up, I make it